Hey everyone, happy Halloween. We are so excited to be back to do another podcast for the Moms Club. It's been a few weeks, probably almost a month.
It's been a little bit.
Yeah, has been at least.
I would say it's been close to a month.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, let's tell people what we've been up to.
We went hiking.
Yeah, we did.
Didn't we do the Color Me Mine at the beginning of October? We did. We did the Color Me Mine at the beginning of the month.
Yes, I don't think we talked about it last time.
No, I don't think so.
How
it was
went.
really, really fun.
Yeah, and there was quite a bit of people. I was kind of surprised about the outcome, to be
Yeah.
honest. Because, there's the two separate rooms, and when I walked in, we're like, oh, we're over here. See all those people checking out things? They're all with us. So I got pretty excited. Yeah, that turned out good.
It did turn out really good. Yeah.
It seemed like the kids had a lot of fun
Oh,
painting.
yeah. And the cool thing is that they have something to take away from it, something physical. So they'll be able to put it in their rooms or see it later and be like, oh, yeah,
And
that was
remember.
fun.
Yeah. And maybe do it again.
Hopefully.
I know that I'm proud of our Buddha that was created.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
An office fixture now.
Yeah. Yep, Ken's Buddha. It's pretty colorful.
Pretty good about the tie-dye.
Yeah, it
pretty-
turned out good.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how mine turn out because I had my little one at the event with me and she wasn't necessarily cooperating and wanted to do her own thing. So I didn't get to finish mine, but I went back the next week and finished mine with Heather, who was also there with her little one. And we had our husbands watch the kids and we went out and just finished it peace and quiet by ourselves. And we get to go
Nice.
pick ours up today, so I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Nice.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I made a couple of cat candle holders, and I put candles in them and took pictures of them and sent them to my kid, and he said that they looked really creepy, which is okay because they're Halloween cats.
Yeah.
They can look creepy. So I thought they turned out really well for
And I thought that was really neat that the place does holiday decor also. They don't just do
Yeah.
your typical plates and cups and bowls, but they have Halloween decorations, and I'm sure they'll have Thanksgiving and Christmas too.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. It's a good plug for them. So I'm sure they'll have some turkeys brought in and some stuff
Yeah.
that people can do for the holidays. So don't
Yeah.
hesitate to go down and check it out.
And they have a variety of things that fall within those categories. So they have the plates, and they have the vases, and they have the decorations that you can, like candle holders and
Piggy
So-
banks.
Yep, piggy
So many
banks that
piggy
you
banks.
could, yeah. So they could probably have a turkey piggy bank pretty
Mhm.
easily, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, a wide variety of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool spot.
It was pretty cool.
And then we had our hike out at Waterfall.
Yeah, that was seriously fun.
We did, and it went by so fast. 3 miles that can go by that fast is pretty awesome.
That was 3 miles.
Just about.
that
From
is
top
awesome.
to bottom round trip. But
Yeah, okay, round trip. Okay, yeah, it's about 2 hours. That's,
Yeah.
And we took some time to play around at the top and
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool off and enjoy it. And
Yeah, I will admit I was a little sore the next day, mainly from carrying Kaylee up there, but that was our longest hike that we've done, and it went pretty good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was really good too.
Yeah.
Really didn't complain too much.
Yeah, I'm
So-
glad that I invested in a nice hiking backpack so that I could bring her along and get to enjoy hikes and not be miserable as I'm hiking because she's heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you tell people what that was like? Because I know you said that was your first kind of real test with
Mhm.
35 pounds on your back. And just,
Yes.
even as we were coming down through the really rocky sections, I couldn't help but think to myself, I don't have a live human strapped to my back that I have to be worried about as we're going around.
Uh-huh.
So what was that like?
Well, it wasn't as bad as it sounds. It took the first little up portion took a little bit because your body's adjusting to one, you're exercising, and you have a child on your back, and the weight of the backpack, everything. So just that extra weight takes a little bit of time for your body to adjust. At least that was my case. And but once you get going, you just kind of get in the groove. I noticed that I was actually, because I didn't want to fall, obviously with my John on my back, I had my core tightened the whole time, really keep my balance, and I was more cautious as I was hiking and coming down. So I think overall it was probably made me a safer hiker just because I was doing everything posture wise and watching my feet when I was going over the rocks than if I was hiking by myself.
Yeah.
But so that was a good aspect of hiking with the child on your back. But I'm glad that I brought her bottle and stuff up there because she got to the top and she was hungry also. Not just me.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you think, the one thing I was wondering was, because you kind of mentioned posture and standing really tall, do you feel like having a walking stick or trekking poles, do you think anything like that would be kind of recommended for people?
Yeah, that probably would have been really helpful. Except we just need to make sure you don't rely on them too much. But yeah, I think that would have been actually pretty helpful.
Right on. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, weather's getting ready to change.
Yep. It's supposed to rain where I live tomorrow and Sunday. Gonna get downright cold.
Yeah, the weatherman last night said that we've been spoiled with the heat, and starting this weekend, it's going down, and it'll just, temperature-wise, it'll just stay down for a little while.
Yep.
Winter's getting ready to begin.
Yep. And it's daylight savings this weekend too.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But
Saturday
we get an
night
extra
Sunday.
hour of sleep.
Yes.
I am in so much need of that right now. That's going to be awesome.
That's what I'm thinking.
So that's
Saturday night
Saturday
to
night to
Sunday
Sunday.
morning. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Get an extra hour.
Very good.
Yeah, but it means it'll be darker in the morning. Or will it be lighter? No, it'll be lighter in the morning again, won't it?
Let's see if we lose an hour.
So when it was 7, it will be 6?
Oh, yep. So it should be,
Or will it be 8?
no, it'll be 6.
It'll be 6.
So spring is the forward.
Right. Okay. So we'll get in. So it'll be a little lighter, a little earlier in the morning, but it'll get darker earlier in the evening.
Well, hopefully that makes it easier getting up for class the next couple of weeks. It's hard to get up for those 7:30, 8:30 classes, especially when the sun's not up and you look outside and you're like, I should still be sleeping. It's dark outside.
Yep, it's true. It's true. And every spring, for some reason, I have a 7:30 a.m. class.
Me too.
So-
Can't get away from it.
I'm really gonna try this spring.
Good
I
luck.
am.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, and also the colder temperatures in the morning. I know a lot of people don't want to get out of bed because it's cold, and
Right.
it's not something people enjoy waking up to, and going out and defrosting the car and dealing with the snow and all the wonderful stuff that's on its way.
I love snow though.
It's all right. I'm going to embrace it. It's
Yep.
coming, so
Yeah.
start putting our ice scrapers in our car so we're prepared for the day when it happens and don't have to wake up late and get out to our car and realize it's all frosted over and like,
Yes,
oh no,
oh
I don't
no.
even have the scraper in my car. Just get rid of some stress early.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Do cars ever freeze here? Like freeze shut when you leave them outside?
Like the engine freezing.
No, like the doors.
Oh yeah, that happened to me my first
Does
winter
that-
here.
Yeah.
But it was also consistently in the negatives and zeros, but last winter it didn't really get that cold as often, so we'll see how this winter is. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Every winter's different.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Halloween today brings up a lot of
Yes.
good subjects for us, a lot of good things to maybe talk about and share with people, because the focus of this holiday is candy.
Yes, candy. I love candy, to be honest.
I do too. Chocolate.
Yes, we so my place where I did my internship, they had a little Halloween party in Salt Lake yesterday, and they invited everyone to bring their kids, and they had trick-or-treating at everyone's desks. So I brought my daughter, and we walked around, and she ended up getting this whole big pumpkin full of candy. I'm like, she's only one. She's not going to eat this. I'm like, that just leaves it for me and my husband. We don't need this. What do I do with it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Pass
but-
it out tonight.
that is a really good idea.
Just pass it back out.
That's a good. I was going to go buy something after this, and now that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
If we have trick-or-treaters. Hopefully. We're in an
Yeah.
apartment complex, so it's a little different.
Oh yeah.
But-
Yeah.
But that's a good idea. We did get some Clif Bars. Some people are handing us Clif Bars, so at least I have some snacks
Wow.
for the next couple of days.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I got lucky with that one.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
We later tonight I'm taking my daughter to my grandparents' house because they wanted to take her trick-or-treating. And they live in a very rich neighborhood where the last time I went trick-or-treating there when I was younger, everyone hands out the full size or even the king size
Holy moly.
candy bars. So I'm kind of curious about the damage that is going to happen tonight with the amount of candy she receives from trick-or-treating with my grandparents. But at least she's only one, and that's good for me. So I'm like, I'm not going to feed my daughter all this candy, and she doesn't know better. I think a lot of like younger children or elementary school children, they get their candy and they're so excited about it and they consume it all. And I think a lot of parents have a hard time monitoring the candy or telling the kids like, oh no, you can't eat all of that today, and 'cause they get upset. So at least I'm not at that point yet with my daughter and can just take it from her and she won't know the difference.
Yeah. When my kids got to that age, I just let them eat it for 2 reasons. 1, it got it out of the house faster. And 2, if it made them sick, was that really so bad? Maybe they wouldn't, consume it so quickly the next time. So, and really, I think in the end, by the time they grew a little older, they had gained enough self-control over their candy consumption that they were able to hold on to it for much longer, and I never had to say anything to them.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I did it.
One little trick that my mom did with my younger siblings is she'd have any sort of candy that you could split. She'd have them split it or put it in little bags, and she'd convince them that if you did that, candy would last a long time. And she'd put it in little bags and they could get one bag a day. So rather than all of their candy be gone, but I mean very small portions, like
Right.
3 Starbursts or something for one day. So then that lasts till
Christmas.
yeah, pretty much, or later sometimes. So then it lasts a long time, and they're still excited about it, but they're not getting overdose on their sugar.
Yeah. That was a problem once or twice, but
Yeah, and my little sister, she'll do that with everything now. She'll get a pack of gum. She's only 5. She'll get a pack of gum, and first thing she does is she takes all the pieces out, still in the wrappers, and she cuts them all in half, and then puts them in a bag. And I asked her, I was like, why are you doing that? She's like, so I have more, duh. Like, okay, good idea. You're right. You do have more now.
Yeah. I did buy extra every Halloween, and I would put it in jars, and then just close the jars up really tight and put it in the pantry, kind of in the back. And then the following summer, when my kids had Xbox parties all night long, then I could pull out a box and give them Halloween candy, and I didn't have to go buy and spend a whole bunch of money all summer because I already bought it at Halloween. It was cheaper.
Yeah.
So my kids loved that.
That's what we do with holidays, except not with candy, but with decorations. Like the day after like Valentine's Day or the day after Halloween, Thanksgiving, all of the decorations or extra costumes are dirt cheap. You can get stuff for like 50, 25 cents. So we'll actually get it and then put it in a box. We have like one designated holiday box. Since we only live in an apartment and we've moved 3 times in the last 2 years, it's probably we need to keep it to one box. So we just stick it in that box and we could use it for the next year and don't have to stress about that, because holiday stuff can be pretty spendy and it adds up. So
so after the holidays is perfect time to do that.
Yep, stock up a little bit. Christmas lights, Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep, so we do.
So getting back to the Halloween candy, I want to focus some time on this. You can't get rid of the candy aspect of Halloween, can you?
I don't think it's something you could necessarily avoid. I mean, depending on your age, I think for us it's easier to avoid it, minus the big bowl of candy that's sitting in front of the office as you walk in. But
true.
But for kids, it's a big part of Halloween. Trick-or-treating is a big part of Halloween. But I think that's where those healthy habits come in beforehand. You got to really work with your kids so that they don't rely so much for candy to make them happy or various things like that, so that they know if they eat too much they're going to get a stomach ache and it's just not worth it. but I don't think you can altogether avoid candy on Halloween. That's just what I personally think. What do you think, Ken?
I don't really have an opinion. I just think it's kind of one of those cultural things that I grew up with, and it seems like Halloween's shifting, or it's different. I guess the trick or treating is from 5 to 7, or
Yeah,
it's really
8.
is it
It's a
5 to
little
8?
late.
At my house, I have them come in after 7.
Okay, but it's really early in the night. And
Yeah,
it
it's
seems
early.
like when I was a kid, my memories maybe they were just a little different, but it was always dark
Yeah.
when we'd go. I mean, it was you almost waited for the sun to set to start
Yeah.
trick or treating, and now it was one of the first things I noticed just this year was 5 o'clock. It's still bright out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of communities, even around Utah, that are doing, like per county, they're doing designated trick or treat times, and some of them aren't even on Halloween, and most of them are during daylight hours. So it's split up around different cities, and so that it is earlier, mainly for safety reasons. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I
is
think that's
that
it.
is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've also heard of people gathering all the houses into like a parking lot or to just one section of the street and just having everyone move around that area, and then that's it.
Yeah, I think trunk or treats are becoming more common. When I was younger, I didn't even know what a trunk or treat was, and I came down to Utah, and there was like 1 or 2. But now, I feel like there's been trunk or treats every night for the last 2 weeks just around this area,
Yeah.
and people in different communities or different organizations, they just bring their car, decorate their trunk, and hand out various things from that. And so
Yeah.
I think with the increase of various trunk or treats, that maybe trick or treating is gonna decline a little bit.
Yeah. I've noticed also stores are doing trick or treats more often, and we have an assisted living facility in our neighborhood. They have trick or treating tonight.
Yeah,
So-
the Fresh Market, they had a trunk or treat in their parking lot just the other
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. So you know, just look
And
around.
that would be cool because we actually went to that one, and there was quite a few apples handed out. There was oranges
Nice.
decorated as pumpkins handed out. That's
Cute.
such a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe hopefully the culture it's changing towards those things. When I was a kid, if you got like any of that stuff when you're trick or treating, you said no thank you and you shut the door. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, if I came home with an apple, I had to give it to my parents, and they had to toss it. Yeah.
Yep.
So
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully it's shifting
changing.
a little bit. We can always hope, but since we are a little bit too old to be trick or treating ourselves, I guess we'll just have to see with our kids or ask around to see if things are changing.
yeah, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's interesting to notice, just as we're talking, that the physical activity component is almost being removed.
Yeah.
Because I can remember going around neighborhoods. I mean, neighborhoods. So it was almost. It would be a huge stretch to say that you would have worked off all the candy you were eating that night, but
We walked quite a bit.
But you walk quite a bit. Yeah.
and we were running
Yeah.
quite a bit too.
Yeah.
I think there was a point where I was at an age where I was going without the parents, and then I remember I was always dressing up as a hockey player, so it was always rollerblades, so I could get around really quick
Yeah.
from house to house.
Yeah. That's true.
But now
The parking lot's not too big.
we're not getting people any exercise, and then it's happening earlier in the day for, as you mentioned, probably safety concerns, which is a bummer, because I remember how fun it was to go to the really creepy houses that were dark, and the people that really took the time to make them really fun.
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess, safety concerns. It's really shifted the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't it shift to getting health food?
I think it is. I think that's what we're hoping for anyway.
Hoping, but I think that our culture is just not stubborn, but we're set in our ways. You know, like Halloween has its certain characteristics. Valentine's Day has its certain characteristics. I mean, the chocolate sales on Valentine's Day are through the roof every
Yeah.
year, and that's I don't think that'll ever change. You know, people have their strict things and strict ideas about various holidays and how they should be like, and I don't think it's gonna change much. We like things to be set.
Yeah. And we like our kids to have the same experiences we had.
Yeah.
So.
But what if those experiences were unhealthy?
I'm still alive.
Yeah, that's tough too. 'Cause I mean, like, you know, when we were kids and we just ate so much candy, we just didn't feel good. And then you just lie around the house and don't do chores like your parents ask you to because you ate too much candy and so you don't feel good. I mean, like, those are things, especially me as becoming a parent, and my daughter's a little too young to necessarily do a lot of helping, but I don't want to see her just feeling miserable and getting sick, even though she would learn from it. But I think I'm just going to have to, even though I do want her to have the good Halloween experiences and fun things like I did, I'm going to have to modify it a little bit for her own sake. We gave her a sucker yesterday, just those little dum-dum suckers, and oh boy, was she happy for it. But it gave her a little bit of a tummy ache, so
Oh.
I know.
Yeah.
She had a blue all over her face, all over her hands, and she was so excited about it.
Wow. Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking those questions because I can't help but wonder what it would be like. What's it like for parents who, what if your children can't eat candy? It's not going to fall within the realm of their health. Maybe they have some type of condition where that's not going to be affordable for them to be eating that. Or maybe you're just trying to raise your kids as healthy as possible, and sugar is not a regular part of their diet anyway. I mean, candy's really never in the house. You're guiding your children towards fruits and vegetables and really getting excited about maybe fruits that are coming in during certain times of the year, and that's more of their dessert. How horrified must you be about Halloween? Because as you were mentioning, I mean, you can't help but notice, you walk into our office, there's big bowls of candy out. You go everywhere today, there will be candy available. You go to the store, all kinds of sugar cookies with, candy logos on them and Halloween themes. And
So what do we do when we're in that situation?
well, I just from a parental standpoint, how would you explain that to your kid? Or do you just not participate in the holiday? Obviously, we don't have anybody in the room who's in that position, but just for conversation, I guess.
Well, I don't think that you necessarily need to not participate in the holiday. I think there's other ways you can participate. You could have a healthy Halloween party at your house. You could have all the kids or your kids invite their friends and bring their costumes and have like a apple bobbing contest, stuff like that. And that would be so much fun for your kid. And you could have all the healthy snacks there and don't have to stress about that. And not only would it be fun for your children, but for their friends too. And you could help bring that into their friends' lives too. See how much fun it was, and you weren't like eating all that candy. So that's an option in that case.
Yeah, and it's a good option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kids enjoy it. My kids had Halloween parties for several years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So after they were teenagers, not when they were younger, but when they were teenagers.
Yeah.
So yeah, they enjoyed it. They're friends.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to start to shift the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't help but think even recently, as I've been just kind of bombarded with nutritional information and just more podcasts and documentaries and just research that you do about how your diet's really impacting how you feel and how you interact with your environment, and then you're looking at stress. And one of the big things that I keep thinking about lately is inflammation. And the inflammation that you cause inside of your body. And that's pretty much a direct result of your lifestyle, your environment, but mainly your diet. So if you're eating heavily processed foods, high sugar foods, the inflammation that you're causing internally it's really horrible for you. And then that expands on, and I'm finding out that you can actually get neural inflammation as a result, that inflammation will spread to the brain, and you're going to have inflammation, and it's just, I can't help but think, increasing the risk of all kinds of bad stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have a holiday, which is fun, and we're describing lots of fun components of it, but some of them are even disappearing, where we talked about the running, between houses and the physical activity. So the holiday's already shifting a little bit for safety concerns. But you can't help but think you're really teaching them that habit of taking in the sugar. Even if they do get the stomach ache, they're only down for a day or two. Kids are so resilient, their stomachs are so able, I guess, to process that, and kind of their activity levels, or at least when I was a child, my activity levels were high. So even after a really bad night of eating candy after Halloween, I was still good. Probably the next afternoon. And as an adult now, I would say that's probably far from how my body would react to,
Yeah.
a huge bowl of candy. So I don't know. I think Shalane was bringing up a great point about maybe creating your own culture within the larger culture. So having little parties or get-togethers, but you can't help but think good parenting might be putting that kind of thought and energy into a party of, what do you want the children to remember from this get-together? Is it the fun and games? Is it the piñata, the pin the tail on the donkey? I mean, what types of activities are you creating around the concept that they do get to get dressed up and wear costumes and then eat stuff that, I don't know, it's so foreign even just to talk about it. You almost feel like anybody listening is going to go, oh, well, that's really silly. I mean, that's optimistic. You're not going to change Halloween. But if you're really concerned about your children's health, and you want it, and you want them to have that social component, you don't want them to feel isolated because their parents are the weirdos that eat really healthy, and want them to kind of appreciate that natural cycle of living in harmony with the earth, where do you go?
I think you have to have some balance with your kids, especially because they still have their friends and they still have school, and they're still going to be exposed to and have availability to all the candy. So I think if you allow them to enjoy that and then still have the Halloween party where you have the healthy stuff available, just have balance.
Well, and I think the timing couldn't be better, because we're just wrapping up the "oh no, you didn't eat that" theme for October, but you look at the next couple months, these are usually the hardest months for people to not fall off the deep end with their food.
Yeah.
For almost the same reason we're hinting at now, which is there's such a social component to the holidays, but it centers around junk. It centers around food that absolutely doesn't fuel you up at all. It does the opposite. But it's weird, because then you're spending it with spending that time with people you love, but you're for sure gonna feel bad after. I mean, even after a good Thanksgiving dinner, everyone's on the couch. Everybody's down.
Yeah.
And it's almost drawing parallels. We have the article about glorifying busy. You're glorifying being a glutton over the holidays, if we're going to be super honest about the whole situation. For people who really maybe are feeling like this is just something that they're getting stressed about because they know every holiday season they put on 5 to 10 pounds. And then they have to work really hard to just get that off, but then ultimately they kind of steady out maybe at that weight. How can we inspire people to maybe find more balance, find more moderation, but maybe center their culture, their holidays, or the people that they choose to spend them with around more, you don't want to go extreme and say positive things, but glorifying gluttony can't be that positive, especially when you're doing it in November and December and then early January.
And then February.
And then March.
March, it settles down.
I think, people start thinking weather's changing, I'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get moving.
But that's a long time to kind of let go of yourself.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, I found myself feeling terrible because last week, I really just incorporated some stuff because of all the hiking I had been doing. It's this weird thing that you do where you justify. So I'd hiked Mount Ogden, and then Waterfall, and then Buse, all in like 3 or 4 days. And I found myself really hungry. stops. So you start thinking, okay, well then I'll eat stuff that I don't normally eat because I need to satisfy that hunger. But if that stuff you don't normally eat doesn't have any micronutrients in it or isn't nutrient dense, then you're actually creating a bigger hole. You're just empty calories coming in, digging more debt into your deficit. And then the restoration and the recovery that needs to take place inside your body doesn't have quite the energy it needs to do what it's supposed to be doing. So for me, 3 or 4 days had me feeling terrible. I mean, totally different mood, irritable, just, I was feeling awful. That's just 3 or 4 days. What happens when you're 3 or 4 months in and the food addiction really is horrible? Because I found myself almost feeling trapped. But this food is so good, and I'll just eat it one more time, or I'll cut it off after today, and then today turned into to tomorrow, and then that turned into Sunday, and then it was okay. Monday, the week's here, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be a pretty common mindset for people, I would imagine. And then depending on how deep you're in that hole and how much your body's reliant on those chemical reactions that are being created from some of these processed foods. What do you do?
I think that's huge, especially in the holiday season, because there's certain specific holiday foods that are starting to come out. For example, like right now we're going through the pumpkin season, so you haven't had anything pumpkin. It's been a year, and then you start to have more and more, and then finally, unfortunately, a lot of the pumpkin things out there are delicious, but not necessarily healthy. Your pumpkin lattes, your pumpkin cookies,
pumpkin bread,
everything,
pumpkin pie,
everything. And then you finally tell yourself, okay, we gotta put this in moderation. We gotta not be eating so much junk. And then comes out the holiday stuff and the peppermint stuff and the dark chocolate stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's hard. I think that's another reason why it's so hard over these next few months. Is not only because it's getting colder, the food's good, but it's food you haven't had all year.
It's comfort food.
Yeah. And you justify yourself because you're like, oh, I haven't had it since last year. I need some of it now. But great thing about the internet is you could still enjoy some of those things, and there's so many modifications you could make that are delicious. Your pumpkin spice latte, there's so many things you could do to it to not make it so fattening and have so many extra calories and sugar. And your pumpkin bread, there's so many things you could do with it. So at least we have those options out there, so we can enjoy some of the holiday foods. They just can't be your typical holiday calories.
Yeah, I even took the pumpkin pie that my mother-in-law makes. It's a creamy pumpkin pie, so it has whipped cream in it, and I think it has buttermilk in it, and then pumpkin. So you would take 1 can of pumpkin and actually make 2 pies instead of just 1 pie, because you can use half the pumpkin. Anyway, I took it last year and used sugar-free yogurt and sugar-free whipping cream, and I actually whipped my own whipping cream, and I enjoyed it. My son, who was accustomed to the full fat, full sugar version, was like, "Mom, it's plain." But I think you can still do that. You can find modifications to the recipes that you're used to making, like you were saying, and make them somewhat healthier, if not perfectly healthier. So.
Yeah, and I think with that too, it's important that once we find that recipe that is good for us and tastes good, that we share it, and you give some to your friend, give some to your neighbor, and then after they say, "Hey, that's delicious," you could say, "Well, actually, this is what's in it, this is such a good dish for us to have," and share your recipe. Don't just keep it to yourself.
Should I share my pumpkin pie recipe?
You sure should.
I should do that.
Post it on our Facebook page.
You know what else I've discovered while we're talking about healthy things, healthy recipes? If you take a package of brownie mix and you puree some black beans with a teaspoon or a tablespoon of vanilla, you get to taste kind of at least a teaspoon, and you mix the two together and bake it, you've got a pan of brownies that's made out of black beans, and they're actually really good. I like them better in the little muffin pan rather than in a big pan that you cut into squares. I like them as the muffin bites, and I can eat 2 or 3 of them and I'm totally satisfied.
Yeah, that's really good. The first time I made that recipe, though, I didn't puree the black beans enough.
Oh yeah, you gotta
So you
puree
gotta
them. Add a little water to
Uh-huh.
them. Yeah.
Because then you're biting into your brownie and it's kind of chunky, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's not a chocolate chip. That just doesn't,
doesn't work
taste
so
right.
well.
But yeah, that is great.
Yeah, I want to try cornbread with white beans. See
Mm.
if that would someday would be good.
Mm-hmm. Good idea.
Yeah. So.
So finding motivation to maybe not fall into the abyss for 4 months would include healthy alternative recipes
Mhm.
for sure.
Another thing that I do, as you guys as you know, I like to run. But there's actually so many fun little 5Ks. There's not a lot of big like marathons or various things in the winter months, but there's a lot of fun little 5Ks. Like they always have races on Thanksgiving morning. Always they have them every city in Utah
Right.
pretty much.
Right before
And-
the parade, usually.
Yep,
Yeah.
they're usually pretty early. It's a great way to just get up, and a lot of them, they're not super serious. You just get out and run 3 miles, or they have little half marathons, I guess, or walk is something to do. Or Christmas time, they have Santa 5Ks, and they are so fun. When you register, you get a Santa costume, and you're required to wear it. And
Cool.
I can't wait to this is what I hope, that I'm pregnant sometime when that races around, so I can have a belly and I'm gonna wear
That
the
would be
Santa
really
costume.
fun.
But there's fun things like that are out there.
Yeah.
And then plus, right where we're going through right now, all the leaves are falling, so there's just various other activities that might not be something to necessarily motivate you or that you want to do, but they're things that need to get done.
Yeah, I actually like ice skating this time of year.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good time for people to try more hobbies or things that they like ice skating, like you said, or hockey, or just various things that
Yeah.
are winter specific that you don't get to do in the summer.
Yeah.
Take up skiing or snowboarding, or
Yeah.
try something new.
Have
Snowshoeing.
have you guys been to the skating rink at Station Park?
Mm.
It's really cool. It's got a big fireplace out on the side so people can sit by the big fireplace, and then they've got the big rink that is almost always full, but it's
In
not,
Farmington?
Yeah, it's in Farmington. It's not
Oh.
overly crowded, but
Hmm.
it's a really fun place to go. It's really pretty. They decorate it with lights, and they have holiday music going, and
Oh, very cool.
it's really fun.
That sounds
so-
like a lot of fun. Wonder if they make infant size
I don't
ice
know.
skates. She's walking pretty good. Time to move on to ice skating.
They might. You
Trying
can
to
certainly
remember, I
look.
think I was like 3. when I
Yeah,
started
they probably have
skating.
more of like toddler. Probably
Yeah.
like 2+.
Yeah, maybe.
Super close though.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Just take some newspaper with you and stuff them in the toes.
Oh, yeah. And put lots of padding in her bum so when she falls.
Yeah, here you go. Well, just hold her.
Yeah. Well, I'm not much of an ice skater either, so
It's
I
got a
don't know
nice
how well
railing
that would
around
be.
it, so you could just hold on to the railing
Yeah.
and hold on to her.
One hand.
Strap her up with a cord.
Yeah.
Ooh.
One of those little kid leashes that they sell.
Yep. Yeah. So fun stuff. I'm looking forward to skiing. I probably won't ski this year, but next year.
Yeah,
So yeah, probably.
very nice. So many fun activities you can do during the winter.
There really is.
Like Shalane mentioned, especially around here, the snowshoeing, all the trails that are so accessible that you can get to. Where hopefully, if we get a lot of snow this winter, you can just rent some snowshoes from our outdoor program at a really good rate and just head up there and just get that fresh air when there's not inversion. And you can actually breathe the air pretty nice after
Yeah.
a good snow. I can't think of anything that would be more relaxing for people, but I think that initial shift, I was doing a presentation yesterday about learning to love yourself more and learning to balance who you are, and it seemed pretty obvious with the group that I had that folks had just kind of stopped remembering how much love they do have for themselves, and it was really amazing to kind of get the feedback of where people's wellness falls on their priority list, because it's not real high. And then when you kind of sit and you have conversation with them, but I'll get to that when I have my job, or I'll get to that when I'm done with school. And I just can't help but think we want people to wake up every day. We're really hoping that, I think, as we're going around trying to help people and reach people, that even just putting out a podcast like this, that someone listening is just going to wake up and hear at least our little rant about Halloween and what the holidays might feel like for you sitting at home, but nobody in your immediate circle talks this way or has this attitude or wants to try to change or make that shift. I can't help but think, how do we get people to wake up sooner? And yeah, we want to have some of these holidays, we want to experience these things with our families, but man, your health, your wellness, you're here so short. You get such a short amount of time to play and have fun. And even if you look at our culture right now, people who are going into retirement after sitting in an office for 30 or 40 years aren't in any kind of shape to go play. They're, just staving off death with pills, and nothing preventative is happening. And I guess I'm just trying to get it on a heavier level, I guess, today. I'm not sure why. It's Halloween. We should be keeping it light. But I've been doing all these presentations the last couple weeks, and it's really fascinating to sit with people and go, why aren't we doing anything today? And where would we start? Which wouldn't be overwhelming and which wouldn't feel like it's too time consuming or wouldn't create that initial stress of, I think I'm going to let go of who I think I am or who I've thought I've been for my entire life. I'm not going to have any expectations for where this is going, but I can envision a healthier me pretty soon. And that's the one thing that I feel like I've been working towards after being really sick and kind of being on the road to recovery and restoration for a couple of years is I just have my mind set on 30, which is just over a year away of just, I want everything feeling real good when I'm 30. And that might seem even too far out in the future, but I'm being realistic based on my past experience of how long it does take to change and to strike the balance, which seems to be the feedback I get from everyone is, what is that balance? Because most people have no idea what it feels like. I was really shocked with 30 plus college students that, I posed the question, well, who's your wellness role model? Nobody had anybody. And then eventually, after silence for a while, LeBron James came out. Well, maybe he's a good role model for wellness, but he's also getting paid to be well and to be in tip-top shape, which very few of us are getting paid to do that.
Right.
And then you look at your life as a whole. If you're not getting paid to take care of yourself, you're getting paid to sit at a desk, or you're getting paid to just have this awful existence, or just not a physically healthy existence. When do you make the decision that you need to really change your life so that you can focus on your wellness and recovery and restoration? Because if you have a lot of inflammation in your body and your diet hasn't been good for years, which I would imagine it compounds every year, how long do you think that road of recovery is when you're just instilling those habits that appear to be so difficult for people, of just getting some physical activity, really flooding your body with micronutrients, working in a place that's not stressing you out, being around people that aren't really pushing your buttons, just finding that environment that jives well with you? What do we say to people? And I'm not looking for 100% plans here, but I would imagine that a lot of people have to feel this way just based on the state of our country and just the health of our country overall. Is if I'm in debt or I'm doing school and I'm doing all of this and life just feels too fast, and I'm 22, but I've got to keep going to keep up with everyone else, your health and your wellness, it's pretty much off in the distance. It's like over the horizon, down the longest winding road ever. So you're never going to get to, well, okay, the doctor told me I'm going to die. I have a chronic disease now, and now I can't work, or now I have this time that's allocated to 100% recovery. I can't help but think we could probably wake more people up before they find themselves really deep in that. But any ideas, really?
Well, I think once you get to that point where you're just, you know that you need to make changes, and you know that you're unhealthy, and just going to the gym or something just seems so overwhelming. You just need to start out really small. I know for take my mom for example. My mom does daily affirmations, and that makes a huge difference. So something such as just saying a little phrase over to yourself, like I am beautiful, I am strong, I am smart, just little things like that. If you just keep saying it to yourself over and over, both out loud in your head, eventually you'll start to it takes a little time. You might say, yeah, that's right. And then you'll get that little confidence that you need. And then maybe that'll be the confidence you need to go exercise. And then when you start, don't go in full steam ahead, because then something else will happen, and you'll get sick for a week, and then you get discouraged and you have to start over again. So just take baby steps, and eventually you'll get there. But you just have to remind yourself of that.
Yeah, I think that positive self-talk is really important.
It's huge.
If you can start to see yourself, or at least try to see yourself, realize that, hey, this is how I see myself, and this is how I want to see myself. I think I'm ugly, fat, and gross, but I would really like to see myself, be pretty. It's interesting, I read a post this morning by one of my really good friends who's really struggling with a lot of hard things, and in her post she said, how did she put it? She said, I lost my best friend. And she said, I did it to myself. It's my own fault. And as you continue to read the post, you realize that she's referring to herself as her best friend. She let herself, she let her best friend in her go away because she didn't talk to her, she didn't play with her, she didn't do things for herself. And she's like, you know what? I'm really tired of this, and I really need my best friend back. And so she is going to go on this journey to find her friend. And I honestly think that for her, that's a good place to start. She realizes that she's lost something that she wants back. And so she's starting with, I want to be. And so, like you said, the positive affirmations, the I can do anything. I'm going to confess a little bit here. I have my own little mantra.
Mm-hmm.
It's I can do anything. And it's not like I'm trying to be superwoman or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to say I can do this. This is hard, but I can do, I can run on the treadmill, or I can walk on the treadmill, because I really don't ever run. Or I can eat a carrot, or I can wake up at a certain hour. Just those things that I have control over. I can do anything. And I use some of my mantras as passwords on my computers. So, when I log into something, then I'm reaffirming to myself, I can do anything as I'm logging in onto my computer.
I wonder how many people use that password and go, thanks for ruining that.
Well, okay, I don't actually use that. To be real, somebody taught me to do the month that you're changing your password, and then choose 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 letters. So ICDA, I can do anything, and then the year. And then that way you can change your password kind of regularly and change the month, leave the letters in the year, and then when the year changes, change the year. But every couple of months. So you wouldn't ever be able to guess my password, even though I've given you that much of it. Because I change my passwords so often, I have to kind of, they keep rotating through. So, and I don't actually use that particular one, so I still didn't give you anything. But I have several little positive affirmations that become my passwords for my school computer. Has a different password than my iPad, than my home computer. And they all have different little affirmations that I use. So, and I found that to be helpful for me personally, to just continually remind myself, I can do this. I can. It's going to be fine.
I read an article. So a couple of days ago, I gave a presentation on the effects of exercising with cancer patients. And my mom had cancer, and she said many affirmations multiple times a day, and she swears by them. And we also read an article, and it was a research study on a girl who had, when they found her, she had brain cancer, but it was spreading to her lungs, and just types of cancer that usually just kill you pretty instantly. And it was about stage 4 when she was diagnosed, and just had never been taken in. And she started doing multiple affirmations, and she would, you could see on the x-rays where the cancer was, and so she'd just sit there and she would just envision the tumor in her head and just say affirmations over and over, and eventually the cancer just disappeared. And there's a lot of doctors that can't quite put the science down to it, and she's like, hey, this is what I did. I did all the basic things. I did the chemo, the radiation. She's like, but this is what made me different, and this is why I survived this. And so that's just a little thing saying that our mind is so powerful. Mind over matter, just like where we get our moms over matter. It's huge. And with everything that's coming up, we just need to buckle down and, like I said, mind over matter. We can do it.
Yeah. Yep. We can do it. Yep. I think that's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think another interesting thing that you guys brought up that we talked about in my presentation was what is the emotion that can take you from being negative to being positive? What's the one emotion or the thing that you feel inside that even when you're really at the bottom, you've let yourself go, it's been months, and you're finally just waking up, but you don't know how you're going to get out, but you are. What's that first emotion when everything starts to get rolling? And I think it goes hand in hand with affirmations, because I think that emotion is for sure courage. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're building through those statements, through coming up with a plan or a step-by-step plan of how you're going to fix yourself and how you're going to get out of whatever rut you're in. But I think that that's just incredible, and something that we should hang on to for a second with people who are listening is placebo effect, as you're mentioning, for all the affirmations. No drugs were given. There was nothing that could have proven, this was the direct result of this. It was just, well, she's saying that this is what she's doing, and we don't have an explanation, so that's kind of where we're at. But when you talk with people about placebo effect, it's the 100% belief that's imperative for it to work. So I can't help but think, why don't people really focus on that? Take a time out and start thinking about how that could be used in their lives. Because if you don't have any doubt in whatever you're thinking for yourself, chances are you can do it. I mean, that should be your mantra, because the one thing you know is that you can't doubt yourself. And the other example that I always bring up when I'm presenting is just, well, you're not still beating yourself up today about what a loser you were when you were trying to walk and you were falling down all the time and nobody was helping you, and it was just, everyone just kept going, it'll happen, they'll learn how to walk. And now you're walking every day, and you never think about it. But that could be everything in life. That could be the only thing. And so the feedback that I got just recently in the last couple of weeks was, well, what about the fear? The fear of failure seems to be one of the biggest barriers for people, is, well, what if I fail at this? But how can you look at that situation we just described and then not make that kind of jump to, you have to fail a bunch to be walking. You can't do it any other way. There's not going to be this perfect plan. And that was the other thing that I wanted to highlight with people, is almost all of my stress and almost all of my low moments have been simplified down. Nothing more than people, places, events didn't meet my expectations. My biggest frustrations were just, yeah, but if I really look at it, I'm bummed out because I had this expectation of who this person was, or how this event was going to go, or how life was going to shape this way, and it's not turning out that way. So now I'm 5 years old and I'm upset. That's almost everything I've ever gone through can be put into that category. So a question that I prompted people with was, well, then, is it bad to have expectations? Because are expectations different from goals? And we kind of went into that discussion a little bit. Well, you need goals, but then my next question was, well, can't you attain your goals but have them not meet your expectations? And I think a lot of people could relate to that of almost all the goals I've ever had have pretty much come true, but they didn't meet my expectations. And those were the ones where I found myself really down. But then shift your perspective and you go, but those are the ones that taught me the most. So had I not gotten so down, maybe I wouldn't have lost so much time, or I wouldn't have dug such a big hole for myself, whatever. But you think if that's the future cycle of life, that's just the one thing that you have to really stay courageous about is, man, failure is going to teach me how to do this right. That is almost the exact opposite of what kids are growing up with. You know, they're growing up with, well, let's try not to make any mistakes. Versus if we were encouraging them to fail, just to find their way, which whatever that means. But to me, it's just as long as you're spreading unconditional love to people, you're doing whatever you're doing is fine with me. You know, some dreams are unrealistic. Some kids want to be elephants. It's not going to happen, but we can embrace that dream. If they're a good person and we just think they're the crazy person in the village, that's okay. But yeah, I couldn't help. I kind of wanted feedback from you two about what do you think of that? Of, well, how scary is it, especially someone like me who is so type A and very control seemed to be something that people talked about yesterday too. Of just, but I like to think I'm in control. I like to control my day. But that's their biggest source of stress, because life keeps banging them with, but you're not controlling your day so well, and all this stuff keeps happening, and you keep losing control, and then the stress becomes overwhelming. Is it too overwhelming for people to even consider, okay, what's the difference between expectations and goals? But if I do the visualization and I can see myself attaining these goals, and I just do that regularly, I mean, once a week, once every 2 weeks, you just really take 30 minutes to an hour to just relax all your muscles and put yourself in that life that you're imagining for yourself with as much sensory data as you can, you know, the smells, you know, what you can hear, what you can see, and then you just come out of that going, well, I was there. I already know it's coming. I just need to be ready for when that day shows up. What more could you be doing in that time? I mean, some of us are on a serious grind. If you know you have 4 more years of school or 8 more years of school or something, you're supposed to be having fun on the journey, but you're stressed for that 8 years. You know, and then even when you do get that position, because you've created these horrible habits and you've instilled them in yourself, what are the odds that you're going to break out of that with that job? You're just going to just all of a sudden wake up, I got my dream job, I got to change my life 100% now because I just let myself go this whole time. So just, yeah, any thoughts or feedback on what if you have a direction you're going, but you kind of just get on the surfboard and ride the wave a little bit more, and you just go by feel. You talk about your nervous system or trusting your intuition. I mean, I'm talking to moms here. Intuition should be something that I would imagine gets stronger as you're raising a young one. You don't want feedback from everyone. You don't want advice from everyone. You want to just be with your baby and build a connection and trust that you know what they need. And that's the bond that, you know, will keep you for life, is that you're the parent. You can look at your child and just know, like, this is what my kid needs to feel better.
Well, kind of going back to the goals and expectations, I think that when you create your goals, you need to also create realistic expectations that go along with that goal. And if the expectations, sometimes you want to set realistic expectations, maybe on necessarily the lower end, so that when you exceed your expectations, it's awesome and it's great, and you don't feel bummed or left down because it didn't turn out the exact way when you want it. But I think that it's important when you create your goals that you create your expectations along with your goals, and so that you're not let down. And
I also think you need to have some flexibility.
Yeah.
Allow yourself a way out if you need a way out. For example, up till this past February, my goal in life was to have a gym for kids, and I was going to do weight training with kids so that we could overcome the obesity epidemic. and I had this class where I had to work directly with kids, and I kind of freaked out, and I realized that I didn't want to work with kids anymore. And so it was kind of a life-altering moment. Well, now what? You know, I've got my whole education that I'm about halfway through at that point, and now what am I going to do? Am I just going to finish my education and do nothing? And a teacher gave me a good idea and let me do some internships, and she flipped my world around a little bit all in about one day. And now my goal is really to work with adults and to be a personal trainer. So, you know, I was able to have the same ideas, but I had to have that flexibility in my goals and plans so that my expectations weren't, like you said, I did for a minute, kind of went, I was bummed and I was scared and I was nervous, but then everything turned around and it worked out really, I think, better for me. So I think flexibility is a good thing.
I agree.
And I feel like what you're saying is a common theme when you talk to people, but if we can just pinpoint one part of your story, which is probably, to me, the most important, was you said, well, but it all turned around in a day.
It did. It was about one day.
But that's what people need to wake up to if they're listening, is we're talking about all this stuff happening in the next coming months and all of the, but it could all turn around in a day, and that's coming from just regular people.
Yeah.
That should spark something in some people, but then what is that stuff? So what was that experience, you know, that it turned around in a day, besides the fact that you hung around with kids and that was like an internal, this is not.
Well, that whole thing was, I mean, I realized for several weeks in a row that I was all tied up in knots, and it was getting worse and worse every week, and something had to change. But I really had, in my mind, there was no way out, because if I dropped the class, first of all, we're 4 weeks into the semester. Dropping a class is kind of, and picking up another class, because that's what I would have to do, is pick up another class. And so I really saw no way out. And then my professor in one of my classes said, no, there's these internships that are just 1 credit hour. And I went, that's all I need. I just need 1 more credit hour to maintain my full-time status if I drop this class, because I was taking 14 credit hours or something. And so just that little piece of knowledge kind of worked in my head for a day. And then the next day I went back to my advisor and I said, can I do this? Really, can I drop this and pick up this class? And she was like, yeah. And so we just started right that minute working on picking up my internships, and I had to do a little bit of footwork, but that was okay. I got it all done, and I went and turned in my application, and I dropped my class, and the knots and everything just went away, and I had something hard to do. I had to do 60 hours in 10 weeks in these 6 internships, and I had to find 6 internships. So it wasn't an easy transition necessarily, but it was easier stress-wise. It was easier on my physiology and on my mental status to be able to do that. But really, I think you just have to kind of keep your eyes open and your ears open and look for those opportunities, because when they come knocking, you got to grab them. And that's really how that worked for me for that moment. And like I said, it took several weeks of looking and thinking about and, you know, trying to work through, you know, what if I'm stuck here? If I'm stuck here, there aren't any other options but me being stuck here, then I've got to figure out how to work through this too. So you kind of I had to keep my options open.
Do you think that there's a level of miserable that people hit before they're willing to do the work? Because like you're saying, you had to work, but it felt different. And like we know, that doesn't really mean much. So you shifted your attitude, so the work felt different. But that's powerful, because it puts you in a better place today. And then when you tell a story like that, you can just go, well, look how easy that is. I was unhappy, and I decided I'm not going to be unhappy anymore. There has to be a way out. And I can do it. So we had the courage component come in. And then boom, even though maybe getting all of those hours and securing those 6 positions was to anyone else more daunting and a big waste of time, or to you it was just relief.
Catharsis.
Total relief.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and totally doable. But like I said earlier, and you said earlier, the positive affirmations, I really had to work through those. Can I do this? Yes, I can do this. So, yeah.
What do we say to people who don't have the people around them where the positive affirmations are going to be strong enough? Maybe you have family or friends or just people who they kind of witness what you're trying to do, but they're not really giving you a whole lot of help. And then your positive affirmations aren't, I mean, you're trying, but you feel the weight of the world on your exterior. I mean, obviously the advice I give to people is you got to stop caring what people think. Way easier said than done. But perhaps it links back to just how bad can you let yourself feel before you put yourself first. I mean, one of the most interesting things when I ask people, well, what would happen if you put yourself first? People go, oh no, I could never do that. I'd be so selfish and things would fall apart. And I go, but couldn't you try it tomorrow and just not tell anyone? I mean, couldn't you just have that mindset in the morning of, no matter what happens today, I got to look out for my health. Today's the first day, you know, and I've changed a lot in the last 10 years, and I've picked a lot of different paths, and like you were hinting at, sometimes you go all the way, or sometimes you kind of get halfway down the road and you go, yeah, okay. I'm back to being present, and this is not where I want things to go. But during that time and during all of that change, it was just really important to find your best friend, and that was something that I thought was really neat that you brought up, because when I talked with the people yesterday, it was, what happened? You were a kid and you were infatuated with yourself, and the feedback I got was, well, kids are narcissistic. But we don't want to focus on that. We want to focus on how happy they were, you know, and the fact that they don't want to go to bed because there's more fun to be had, and they can't wait to get up the next day because there's so much stuff to do. And then people go, well, you grow up and you get responsibilities. But you choose most of your responsibilities, because we have that freedom where we live, where you pick how many responsibilities you take on. And then obviously, depending on the environment you were born into, there might be some constraints on that. But for the most part, you have the ability to simplify your life, to get back to living what feels right to you. I mean, one thing that I battle almost all the time is I just don't listen to my own pace. So I know the pace that I like that feels slow, but very nice and therapeutic and cathartic, and just, well, we'll just take care of everything. Just, nothing's going to be a big deal. But then the other voice, you know, my best friend who's on road trip, who doesn't want to help out, is telling me, you got to go. Everybody's waiting. And this has to happen, and this has to happen, and then we're not getting along. So I kind of laughed when you brought that up, because one thing I talked about yesterday was, well, I don't get to divorce myself because I'm not loving myself, you know, that much. But you have that unity for your whole life. You're married to this voice inside your head and this person of who you think you are. But it's just a concept. It's just a figment of your imagination. And that's one thing that I think people lose from being a kid into adulthood, is your imagination of just... But you could just start changing tomorrow. I mean, you could finish listening to this, and that's it. You're changed. You just start doing all the stuff that you've just never been doing. And the next day, it just snowballs, and you're gone. And the person that you were up to this point is no longer around. That should blow people's heads off. I mean, that should be this kind of knocking on the door of, if you're ready. Because a lot of people aren't ready to hear that message, and they're not ready to just go, I guess that's real. I guess that's real that people are doing that in a day you can get the weight of the world off of you, and, you know, you become the hero of your story. And I love that Joe Rogan always kind of points at that. He goes, you got to turn on the theme music, you know, from your favorite action movie or whatever, and just, you have to pretend that story is centering around you and your triumph over the fact that you weren't taking care of yourself, you let things go, you did all of this. But man, you woke up. And then the affirmations, and I think a lot of the things that we'll continue to talk about in future podcasts will all center around that idea of how present are you most of the time you're awake. Because like you were saying, but you had to be present. You had to like recognize your surroundings, and you had to do some research into alternatives and go meet with people. But that was only because you were panicked, and it was... You know, you had that feeling, that internal sense of, there's got to be a way out of this, for me at least.
Yeah. Just just had to keep looking.
How do we tell people, like, hey, we have more support for that? Because we're talking about we don't have anything set up in the next couple months. Let's try to brainstorm before we wrap up today's podcast of, we've got November coming up in December. What would be an activity or an event that we could do that would kind of not center around, but maybe highlight what we were just talking about of, maybe you're coming to this event or activity because this is not who you are, but you're looking for that change. You're looking to just, you kind of got wind of this. It was a friend of a friend who sent it to you, and you just happened to listen to it for whatever reason, and now they're talking about doing something, but I'm not really interested, but it sounds like fun. That's kind of where I think we're going to get more people to just give us a chance, you know, and find an activity that we're trying to put out there as planners and as health educators and people who really want people to change for themselves and to be more well. What do you think would sound fun? I mean, ice skating is certainly a wonderful idea.
I think we should do something that kind of wraps together everything we've been talking about today, also with healthy eating, and maybe just trying some, like before Thanksgiving, making some healthy recipes as a big group, and we can enjoy them together. And so that's a couple things that people can incorporate into their Thanksgiving dinner, so that, you know, that people who come to our meetings, they don't have to be overwhelmed with making Thanksgiving dinner and a bunch of unhealthy dishes, and even though they know that's not what they're supposed to be eating, that they can have throw a couple things in there that are healthy and delicious and that they've made before, so they are confident that they can make it again. So I think that would be fun if we could do some kind of healthy recipe night or something.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Well, and that's actually really great, because we could tag on with the email I sent to everyone just yesterday about the Healthsgiving that we were going to do internally. We could easily just make that open to anybody who wants to come out and try, because I know in-house within the Moms Club, we're obviously excited to make those foods, but then the Fitness Funyuns, which is our entire staff, would be more than happy and I think enthusiastic to prepare some dishes and then some treats, and kind of just follow some simple guidelines of let's go low ingredient lists, pretty easily found things in the area, but things that we can taste that taste good, and then have people show up, but then also have maybe it's a component of sharing, where there's just, well, let's just share real quick how everything was made, or maybe we just put the recipes in front of all the dishes in the room, so as you're going around and you're making your decisions, you can kind of get a gist of, oh, and this is how it was made real quick. That could be really great. And then the other thing I was thinking is the henna was so fun at the Yoga Fest. And Olivia, one of our consultants, she had demonstrated some pretty awesome art on herself, and I couldn't help but ask her how she got into that or whatever, and she sent me a link of just some henna, so I thought we could kind of combine either some crafts, making bracelets, making random things with that Healthsgiving, so it would be a very social event. You know, we're kind of looking at November 25th from 6 to 8 p.m., which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So for folks who are really, if you're listening to this and you're gung-ho and your theme music's playing, you don't even have to have Thanksgiving that week. You could come to our Healthsgiving Tuesday and really center your idea around, this is going to be our big signature event, because the next 3 or 4 months we're really going to make a difference this year. We're not going to dip our toe in there and fall in and drown into the sugar of goodness. We're going to make a concerted effort to meet new people and try new things and really focus our energy in a way that benefits us, because there's nothing worse than waking up to the self-sabotaging behaviors that we kind of find ourselves stuck in. And I think that's a wonderful idea for folks. If you're listening, that'd definitely be something that we'll push through. So that'll be Tuesday, November 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. And that'll be open to, family and friends. We'll probably just do a little Facebook group so we can get an idea of how many people might be showing up to that, so we can prepare the right amount of food. But
do we have a location?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking we'd do it in the nutrition lab. So if people show up to the Wildcat Center, we just take them up to the second floor, and you just walk across the bridge to the end of the hall. And it's the big room on the right, so I figured it'd be a good spot. There's a full kitchen in there, so if we have to do any cleaning or anything afterwards, it'd be real easy. And then we have
and there's a big room off to the side to sit and eat.
Yeah.
And tables and chairs.
Projector screen, computer,
Yeah.
if we ever wanted to play something or have any
Yeah.
type of interactive activity. But I think we'll for sure kind of move forward on that. That's a really great idea, and probably a good place to start thinking about winding down our conversation here. This has been super fantastic.
One more question. What's the juicing workshop on the 4th?
So the juicing workshops that appear on my calendar in my office that have not been taking place were kind of along the lines of those dreams that I still have, but it just kind of fell off the priority list. So I appreciate you bringing that up. If folks are at all interested and you're listening, we definitely do have the ability to provide juicing workshops at any time. All I have to do is set them up. I'm doing an event out at the Davis campus. It's more of a wellness event on Saturday, November 22nd, and I will be doing an hour of juicing out there. So we'll do some more details on that. And then, yeah, for spring semester, I'll definitely have a committed schedule of one per month. So usually it's $3 or $5 for people to show up. I try to keep it between 60 and 90 minutes. We go through all components of juicing. I try to share a little bit of my story and why I'm such a big advocate for it, and then we just try them. We make a couple of different types with a couple different ingredient lists, so people can get the different contents and what they do, and then you can kind of just go, okay, no expectations for how good I'll be at this, but I kind of have an idea of what I want and where to start. And that's the whole gist of the juicing workshops. I'm not trying to be an expert. I just want people to know I've been doing it for a couple of years. It was out of 100% necessity. And as we posted on the Funyuns page this week, the Hungry for Change documentary with a free link for people to watch that is just great information. That was probably one of the most intense documentaries that I've watched, where they're pointing the finger at sugar hard as far as being addictive and kind of being more of a drug and just something that people should be very concerned with for the reasons we touched on earlier: inflammation and chronic stress and chronic disease, which might come from that. So yeah, hopefully, I think if people are open to it, Davis campus, we're trying to get stuff going out there. Saturday the 22nd, I'll have more details on that in the near future. But anything else we want to share with everyone? It's Halloween. Have some fun.
Happy Halloween.
Shalane passed along that photo, which I loved, and I had to put some
It's
text
so
too.
Cute. So cute.
So we might find that on a lot of our social media today. It was just a wonderful costume that you made for your daughter.
Oh, thank you. I had a lot of fun making it.
It was super cute, and the colors were really perfect, so we just turned it into a little meme. And yeah, hopefully people will enjoy their holiday tonight, even though the holiday has been shifting, as we talked about.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks you guys for listening.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we'll be
you.
back within the next month.
See you next time.
Bye.